Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, I can't imagine a more stressful job than working at an airline or working at the airport with all the air rage we've seen in the last few years. No wonder it's taking a toll on so many people's health. We'll be talking to a leading national expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I don't know about you, but I get stressed out when I go to the airport. It doesn't matter whether it's Love Field or DFW International. And most of the time you're stressed out because you can just feel the flight delays coming along. Sometimes people are short with you, and sometimes the passengers are short with the staff. To talk about that today, Dr. Mary Warren. She is a wellness expert, speaker, and author, and mostly she's my friend. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So let's talk about the airline industry. I think, if we go way back into the 50s and 60s, a trip was an exciting time. You got dressed up for it.
And glamorous, exactly.
Right?
It's very glamorous.
And you were excited to get on a plane. Now it's become like a bus. And nobody's excited. I don't see too many people smiling at the airport. That takes a toll on health, doesn't it?
Oh, it definitely does. And I'm always and ever optimistic, and I do think things are getting better. I think, obviously during COVID, it was a super stressful time for so many reasons, on so many levels, in airlines, in airports, all travelers, and once we were actually back traveling. But I do remain optimistic that things are returning to a more civilized and a more upbeat and positive place. And I just returned from California, was out there for 4 days. So I was at a conference for the Women in Aviation International conference, and I've got all kinds of great things to tell you about that.
I can't wait. She's also an author and speaker. We're going to show a couple of her books. The first one, Road Warrior Wellness. I love that. Tell us how you came up with that title.
Well, thank you, Jeff. That was really designed to basically boil right down to what do people need when you're traveling all the time. And, I'm always talking about getting good at the basics, right? You want to be good with hydration, you want to have a good solid diet, you want to be well rested, you want to be moving your body and exercising all the time. But we're always thinking and wondering, like, okay, how do I get better brain function, and how do I have better memory, and how do I have my best body shape and all of that? Well, that's all high level neuroanatomy. That's all high level neuroendocrine, neurophysiology. That's all biochemistry, and all of that then rests on good nutrition. All of that rests on being well hydrated. All of that rests on being well rested and moving our body. So I'm always talking about the basics, because the basics are driving good brain function. The basics are driving good memory and good digestion and fewer allergies. And these are things that I see with my people in private practice, as well as when we're out traveling. These are things I experience when I'm out traveling and on the road.
Sure. Now, you've written another book as well, The Good, the Bad, the Bankrupt, Get Yourself Out of Nutritional Deficit. Tell us about that one.
That one was developed 8 years ago. My husband and I co-authored that book, and we did that because, in private practice, people are always like, well, what do I do? What do I do? How do I eat? And I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a food planner. In fact, I've got a really great gal I send people to for that, because I so don't want to do that, and I'm not good at it. So I'm really, again, about the basics and getting people just simplified in their lives. And it's really about how we shop, cook, and eat. And even if that shopping is like home delivery, or even if that shopping is like, what decisions do I make when I'm at the airport? What are those decisions I make when I'm out, traveling or on vacation? So it's really about how we're eating and what we're doing. So the book also has a chapter about, how to improve your sleep. And then the last chapter is really about how do we clean up our home and work environments, because there are so many environmental toxins. And, we've become aware of that relative to the organisms that were floating around with COVID. But, we have these things going on all the time with, plug-ins and, air pollution and just things that are, toxins and makeup and chemicals and laundry soaps and personal, products. And so clean those up, it's all about good biochemistry.
Sure. Let's talk more about the water and the hydration, because she eats her own cooking. She showed up with a water bottle. It's just off camera. When you're flying, are you naturally inclined to get dehydrated anyway?
Absolutely. Yeah. As soon as that forward door closes, our physiology starts changing, because now our bodies are under pressure, right? I mean, the pilots they get, like the king and the queen share of what's going on up at the flight deck, because they're the ones that are flying the plane, as they well should get the king and the queen share of oxygen, of pressurization. And for those of us that are back in the cabin, our bodies get under pressure. And so when that happens, we become more easily dehydrated. There's like a rule or a law of twos, a doubling effect. So if you drink something alcoholic on an airplane, it's like you're having two. So if you order a beer, you're having two, because your body is under pressure. So it's you more readily dehydrate, and a lot of foods that we eat when we're on an airplane actually tend to upset us a little more easily, just because, again, we're under pressure.
Sure.
And our body doesn't have like big open spaces where nothing is going on. That would be the lungs, maybe, because we've got air going in there. But the intestines and the gut, those are closed spaces. And so when they're under pressure, whatever is in your intestines has a tendency to, do its thing now under pressure.
Sure.
So that can create flatulence and upset stomach and all of that. So you want to make better choices, easy choices, easily digested choices when you're on an airplane.
And I know just traveling in general, you get off of your game. You may not be taking all your prescriptions with you or your diet supplements with you, because you don't want to carry all that stuff. You're not working out. You're probably eating in a hotel, and it's not healthy. So I can relate to that, because it seems like shortly after I travel, I get a little something. Right? A little, sniffles or some kind of.
So that's the whole thing with Road Warrior Wellness. It's really about bookending those trips, Jeff. Mm-hmm. So that's such a great point, because what you want to be really solid before you travel, so that when you're out traveling, you're trying to make good choices. But, we live in such a rewards-based society, right? And culture. Oh, it's been a great day. I'm going to have a glass of wine. It's been a terrible day. I'm going to have a glass of wine, right? So it's one or the other. But then when you get home, so you're making good choices when you're out. And then when you get home, you want to take the first 2 or 3 days to really get your health solid and get back up on track again. Like during the winter months when it's cold, and I've just come back from a trip, I don't go out and walk in the cold. I'm going to let my body get back on track. I stay inside and exercise. I'm taking extra immune herbs. I'm drinking lots of hot water during the day, because I want to build that internal heat, and I want to get myself back on track health-wise and immune-wise. And then when I've been home 2 or 3 days, then I will get back outside and, hit it hard, my workouts. But you got to give yourself a little bit of recovery time. The other thing I wanted to mention, which because you did, about when you're traveling, because I've gotten caught in this a couple of times in the last 2 years, because airlines are doing so much with their crew demands and with time, because crews have rest requirements, and crews have travel and time requirements. So they may be at the airport, but if there's some sort of mechanical issue, or the windshield has to be replaced, and the glass has to cure, or the caulking has to cure, and that's going to be a 9-hour wait time. That means now we're going to wait for a new crew to show up, right? So there we sit at the gate in the waiting area. And so have you packed your supplements? Have you packed your medication? Have you packed some extra underclothing? Do you have some things for maybe an extra night away? And I've gotten caught in that the last couple of years.
Sure.
And it's like, doggone it, I'm going to make sure that I have extra supplements. I'm going to make sure I have extra, things I need for an extra day or two or night.
Sure, and she's an amazing speaker. I met her at the National Speakers Association.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and roll this clip.
So what about when you get home? Aren't you just so tired and you want to just like relax and not do anything, or you're like 8 million things are going on because now you're home and you've got things to do? I encourage people, try to get things on track as quickly as possible. If you've been a little underhydrated, get yourself back on the hydration train. Lemon and liver are lovers. So always think about lemon being a really good support for the liver, the health of your liver. So put that in your drinking water once you get home. And of course, you'll be at your own refrigerator, so you could always have lime or cucumber slices, but really take the first 1 to 3 days and rehydrate. Get yourself back on track with those organic smoothies and salads and good vegetables. Get that clean protein back on track, because you probably have eaten some things while you were traveling that you wouldn't normally eat, right? I know I do. Another thing that you'll want to do when you're back home is get yourself back on that regular routine of exercise. And here is one of the things that I really strongly urge people to do. Be gentle those first couple of days after you've come home from a trip. Because when we are depleted, it is very easy to create injuries in our body. So when we're traveling, we've been depleted, we're tired, we're running, we've got 100 things going on, we've been doing a great job, we're going to do more great jobs. We get home and we're like, I'm going to do a great job exercising, right? Be gentle, because that's when you're depleted and you need to go slowly. So I would encourage you for the first day or two, just ramp down your weights a little bit, dial back your yoga a little bit, do some walking, but definitely get yourself active and get your sleep back on track. So 7 to 9 hours every night is so critical. I often ask people, if health were a checking account, what would your balance be like? Think about this. So remember, before you travel, you want to build. When you travel, the idea is to balance and not compromise. And then when you get home, you want to recuperate and regenerate. I'm Dr. Mary Warren, and I am passionate about helping you be a healthy road warrior.
I love your speaking style, and you're very relatable. You just seem like, the girl next door. So tell us about the conference you just came back from.
It was a great conference. So the Women in Aviation International holds an annual conference, and we just got back from Long Beach at the convention center. And I do want to give a little shout out to the Hyatt Regency there. They had some great dietary choices for us salad-wise, and it was just, they had a water refill station right in the lobby. One of the things that I want to say, because I'm always on water with people, because hydration is such a huge part of our health. If you go to the hotel gym, they always have a water dispenser, and it is a great place to refill your water bottle. And then while you're there, get on the elliptical machine for a few minutes, or the treadmill, or get, a lot of them will have little workout areas where you can have your own little private room, essentially, because it's there for stretching, the mats and the balls. And, do something where you're using your own body weight. Do leg lifts, do some, crunches, do some things to get your body going, because that's such a big piece. And I always say to people, 10 minutes is better than 0 minutes. So go and refill your water bottle and get on the elliptical machine.
Tell us why, and I can see these tips would apply to almost any industry. We all suffer stresses. Why did you pinpoint aviation?
Well, because I think, first of all, I love being in and around airplanes, airports, aviation, and it's one of those things that's always been like, oh, it's so fun and fascinating and interesting. And one of the things, like people, like I've got a friend at NSA Yoram that's like, oh, what is your favorite fighter jet? And I'm like, well, I'm not that interested in the fight. They're beautiful and they're sexy and all of that, but I like the tankers.
Right.
I like the big girls. I like the KC-135s. I like the, 777s. I like the big girls because they're really defying gravity. It's like, they're like bumblebees. It's like, how are these things flying? And how are they flying with like thousands and thousands of pounds of fuel? And then how are they refueling, other aircraft up in the sky? Yeah. That's extraordinary to me. So, needless to say, I'm a big Boeing fan because Boeing, builds the big KC tankers, and I always get to hang out with a lot of the Boeing gals when I'm at conference. So it's every year, and what we do is we get together, we have educational sessions. The whole thing is about connect, inspire, and educate. And so everyone is networking. There are a lot of women that are looking for job positions, looking to change industries. I happen to be fundraising chair for our local chapter, the North Texas chapter of Women in Aviation International. So I make it my business to meet a lot of the exhibitors when I'm there in the exhibitor hall, because I want them to be a part of our local chapter, and I want them involved in our big annual event, which is the Girls in Aviation Day event. That happens on the third Saturday of every September, and we hold that at the Dallas Executive Airport. It's at the National Aviation Education Center. It's a mouthful. The NAEC, which is in conjunction with the Commemorative Air Force Museum, and it's a day of girls. It's a sea of pink, and it's just a day of getting girls introduced to a lot of different aviation jobs and career paths. We've got Air Force there with all of, reserves, ROTC, they bring Sims. Dallas PD is there, they bring in Rotary, they sometimes will bring Sims, and everyone wants to be on the Sims because that's so cool, right? Southwest Airlines, of course, is there. They do a big activity for the little girls on the floor. Of course, American Airlines is there, Airbus is there, Millionaire Air was there with us last year. Big contributor Collins Aerospace is there. So there are a lot of people, and then we've got FBOs. We have Galaxy. We have, I already mentioned Millionaire. We have JSX. So we've got private, small, and then we've got a lot that are of people and businesses that are in the aviation businesses that support our chapter and support our function. So when I'm at the annual conference, Jeff, I get to meet a lot of these people, and I go to say thank you to our contributors and our sponsors, and then I get to meet people that I'd like to have involved as well, because when they understand that we're there building their pipelines with these girls, they get excited about it because it's a really exciting event. So thank you for asking about all of that. Yeah.
We're almost out of time, so we're coming up on the busy spring and summer travel season. What advice would you like to leave people with if they've got a big trip planned?
So because spring is such a big time for allergies, get yourself a couple of things that are easy to take with you. One is an aromatherapy inhaler. It's the one I like, and I hate to kind of use names and name drop, but Olba's inhaler. So Olba's has a little aromatherapy inhaler that you can use. And then the other thing is to have like a nasal rinse. And the one that I like is Manuka honey, and that is like a little 1 or 2 ounce bottle, and you can just use it in your nasal passages to flush out. Stay hydrated, stay away from the dairy, the sugar, the wheat, and boy, that's where we all fall down when we travel. But those are all mucus formers, and they tend to get us inflamed, and they tend to make allergies worse. And then just water, water, water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're going to end with her website, which is road-warrior-wellness.com, the great Mary Warren. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. So wonderful to be here. Thank you.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.